Thanks for what you do with your podcast and all the rest. You're doing a great job. Hope everybody keeps tuning in. You get a lot of good info, a lot of insights, understandings of how to get strong, how to stay strong, how to use your strength.
You do a great job, dude. You make things better than they are in real life, I think.
If you don't follow Massenomics, y'all do it. Social media, website, everything.
Massenomics.
Welcome back, everyone, for episode 320 of the Massenomics podcast, the lifting podcast about nothing. My name is Tanner.
And my name is Tommy.
320, Tommy. You know what that means?
It's 320.
Yeah, 100 more till 420, huh? That'll be a funny one.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Only, how many more till 369 then? What's that, 49 more?
49 more.
That'll be a funny one, too, won't it?
That one's going to be hilarious, I bet.
We're coming up 7 years. That's eventually. That'd be like, what's that?
Is that
350, 362. So that's a ways off then, too.
7 years is?
Is that wrong?
Well, didn't we start it around now, though? Wasn't it kind of in the spring when we started?
I think it's March, isn't it, or not?
Oh, okay. So we just had 6 years.
I'm not really sure.
They honestly just the numbers lose meaning. I don't even remember.
Yeah, because 6 years was at 312. Yeah.
Yeah, 312. You're right. Yeah,
Right,
we did just
right.
have an anniversary. You got me
Right.
thinking we were going close to the other way.
No, I actually don't know what I'm thinking. Sometimes I don't know if I'm a foot or horseback over here. I don't know if I'm coming or going. Speaking of that, I wanted to tell you about, let's see, pick a card, any card.
You got an unusually large stack
Yeah,
of
I've got
papers
too
over
many.
there.
Some of these people aren't even sponsors anymore.
Just keep them around for old times.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to tell you about, how about the Strength Co? I think that would be a fitting one to hear from today.
I think so.
This episode is brought to you by the Strength Co. Grant Brogy was born in the late 80s, nearly 2 decades after Buddy Caps began lifting. In the late 90s, Grant's brother Jordan bought him the new Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Grant's love for weightlifting began. In 2001, Grant joined the local YMCA and began training with weights. In 2009, Grant discovered the book Starting Strength, and in 2012, as a lieutenant in the Marine Corps, he began teaching his Marines this method. In 2017, Grant opened his gym in Costa Mesa, California, and the Strength Co. was born. In 2020, during a major iron shortage, Grant sought to bring back quality manufacturing of Olympic barbell plates to America. His innovation, adaptation, and can-do attitude brought about the greatest plates made in decades. The plates were accurate, anti-fragile, and instantly became the go-to plates of hundreds of lifters at the Massenomics gym.
That's right.
And more lifters all over the place. Seems like every time I look on that Instagram, there's more people lifting with the Strength Co. plates. Smart people, I would say.
They know what's up.
Yep. This episode is also brought to you by Juggernaut AI, the Juggernaut AI app. Come with me for this ad if you want to lift.
Whoa, Arnold, slow down over there.
You could tell. It wasn't because I've
tell
done
you-
it for 5 last
I can
weeks.
tell you've
You
been
just knew.
practicing
Yeah.
over there.
Did you see how I did it even louder than the other weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah. The louder I get, the more it sounds like Arnold.
I thought there was in a movie theater with surround sound for a minute here.
Get to the chopper. I'll be back. You've been using Juggernaut AI, right,
I
Tommy?
have.
You were just making gains on squats, it seems
week
like.
6 coming in strong.
Yeah. And
Squat volume like I've never had in my life.
You're-
Got some new exercises I've never done, and I am feeling good.
Yeah, like the squat workout, for example, just the other day, it was like 5 sets of 8.
5 sets of 8.
And
I never knew I needed 40 reps of working sets
they
in my
were
life.
They were all real good, too.
They were
I
good.
mean,
in the moment, they're not fun, but
Yeah.
in hindsight, they were all pretty good.
Yeah. So Juggernaut AI, so far, so good for you, I would say. And I'm also rocking that, of course. I'm on I've done it. I'm on my 6th week of the current
Yeah, we're in
training
matching weeks. is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
crazy part.
Yes, so going good for both of us. Other perks of it, when you're setting that up, you get to pick your date, pick your meet date, or your testing date, however you want to do that. And then really it's just the customization and individualization, I think, is the big thing. It's not a spreadsheet template like you might be used to if you've purchased a program. I was going to say cookie cutter program, but not even a cookie cutter program, just like the typical Excel spreadsheet, you're going to have a lot different experience with this. And multiple people have said, I don't think I could ever go back to that.
Yeah.
And I get that feeling.
I 100% do too.
Yeah. The training is continually adapting to your feedback, and the changes happen as quickly as set to set. Find out more and get signed up at juggernautai.app. The future has not been written, but your Juggernaut AI discount code is. It's Massenomics. That'll save you 10% for the lifetime of your membership. We'll be back next week with another Juggernaut AI ad read.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Along those lines, we were just talking. I didn't honestly really know that dumbbell RDLs were a movement. And those hit me different than a lot of things ever have. So I got Juggernaut to thank for that too.
Yeah, there's been I've worked those in and out of the program also, and it is a refreshing take on some of those accessory lifts that you maybe haven't paid as much thought to in times, and you're like,
Oh, because there's no way I would ever do
Right.
dumbbells like that.
right. That can be,
But they work.
Yeah, or like the splits. A lot of people are doing split squats.
I
and
do those
like
too.
that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
those light me up too.
yeah, I haven't really been doing those. I'm afraid of those.
Yeah, you got knee issues.
Yeah, I've done lunges at times. I've worked those in, and I kind of like the lunges, but haven't done the split squats like that yet.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yep. Well, we've got a few different things to talk about this week, don't we?
We do. A few. Nothing crazy, but a few.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty crazy.
It actually is. I always like to sell ourselves short.
We're going to have a huge supporting our supporting members segment this week. I'll tell you that
It could
much.
be a supporting members PR this week.
We're going to support more supporting members than we've ever supported all
Just
at
going
once
to
before.
support so many people.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. But before we get to that, I had something funny to tell you about. Do you know who Josh Heupel is?
I do know who Josh Heupel is.
So for those of you listening that might not know who Josh Heupel is, he's currently the head coach, the head football coach for the Tennessee Volunteers.
They haven't officially started yet, but yeah.
Oh,
he is,
right.
I mean, he hasn't had a season yet there. He has transferred over.
Right. And prior to that, I think was he UCF?
Yeah.
And prior to that, probably assistant at some.
No, it was.
Did he have a head coaching job somewhere smaller?
Yeah,
Before
wasn't
that?
he somewhere? Because he was only at UCF for like 2 years.
He wasn't at like Montana or Wyoming or something like that.
I can't think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Mizzou. Somebody said Mizzou, offensive coordinator.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. Yeah.
But now he's the head coach, and actually ties back right here to Aberdeen, South Dakota. where-
Aberdeen native.
Yeah, he graduated as a Golden Eagle from Aberdeen Central. His dad, when I came out of high school, was the head football coach for our Northern State Wolves, here, the college team in town.
His father-in-law is a substitute on my bowling team, so
Can he throw any zingers?
well,
And
he's not a bad bowler actually.
Heupel went to Oklahoma. Well, actually, I think he went to junior colleges and maybe some other places, but ended up at Oklahoma quarterback, and he was in the Heisman hunt, right?
Yeah, was he
was
a
a
Heisman, like,
finalist.
runner-up? Yeah,
he was a
something like
finalist.
that, yeah.
Maybe he was even the runner-up.
Yeah.
I don't know who he won to. Someone probably knows that.
Or maybe he
Did he win the Heisman? I think I know he was a finalist.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Someone will know. Someone can fact check us on that. But he was on. What was the? Did I write down the name of this radio show?
You did.
We've both been on this radio show actually before.
Yeah.
You more recently than I. I've been on it a few times. It's called Calling All Sports. It's on.
Like every great podcast from Western Northeast South Dakota, you have to work your way through the radio circuit. You know?
Yeah. He was on that show because he's a native to this area, and he made a reference to having roots in Western Northeast South Dakota.
Did he actually say that?
I haven't fact checked it myself. Ryan at the gym told me that he listens to that show every day. Not your brother Ryan, but Sergeant Ryan let me know that he referenced Western Northeast South Dakota on there, and I have to wonder how and where
That came from. I mean, we can't be the first people to ever say it. I'd like to think we're the first to popularize it.
It's just very interesting that he would have mentioned that.
That is. Maybe word's getting out
Yeah.
about this little secret we have over
I
here.
guess so. I thought that was kind of funny though.
I do like that. Well,
Yeah.
I'd love for our fact checkers to get to the
Between
bottom of that one.
Heupel referencing Western Northeast South Dakota and having Culpepper at the gym. It's
It's
kind
just-
of a wild football.
what do you do, right?
Coincidences lately.
Football HQ over here. Tanner, you had there was a Facebook post today that was hilarious. No,
I love a good Facebook post.
the Office was quite good today.
Yeah.
I was gonna check because those usually go over pretty good. I was assuming that the numbers
I think it
on that
went
one
pretty well.
were pretty solid.
There
but,
was some.
um,
It's funny, something like that. You either love it or you don't like The
it's
Office.
like, yeah,
you
you've
don't
never
care.
seen it, so it's like,
And you're like,
I
I
don't
don't get
relate
it.
to this one bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you like The Office and you're into lifting, you get a good kick out of that. But I think if you don't, it's like every one of those. I don't know what you call. That's a little bit of a recurring thing we do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We
just-
really don't have a name for that. In
that-
my folder, I call it series comparisons. But I don't know if that's a great name for it or
It's
not.
not maybe the catchiest name,
No,
but it
what
is
should?
accurate.
That's a good question for everyone. What should those be called? Where we use the usually four on an image, and it's comparing them to.
Some famous franchise or series.
Yeah.
God,
So the recent one was The Office, and I always thought The Office was low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And I played with The Office idea a few times and never felt like I really had it hammered out. And this morning, actually,
stroke of genius.
Well, someone. It's funny. After that, someone asked me, "Do you plan those out in advance?" And it's like, no. At about 8:30, I thought.
It's like, well, yeah, it has to make something before I post it. It doesn't organically appear.
I thought, you know what? We need something to post this morning. And I'm like, I bet if I set my mind to it, I can really hammer this out. And by about 9:15 or something like that, in
came
between
to
doing
life.
other things, it was a posted image.
That's good.
Yeah.
And the hard work showed off.
Hard. So the question is so we've done like WWE wrestlers, Star Wars,
Harry Potter.
Game of Thrones. What's the
Was Lord of the Rings?
Yellowstone?
Was
Lord
of
of
the Rings?
Have we done
No,
Lord of the Rings?
Maybe not. I can't remember either.
I can't remember. That's a tricky one.
If we haven't, that's almost has to be almost next on the list. I could also just be
I
thinking of Game
think
of
that
Thrones.
I've done it. I've done it because I'm trying to think of who Dan Bell was.
Yeah, because
Lord of the Rings was done because Dan Bell was the short bearded guy with Gimli.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Big Nate says we need a Ted Lasso one. Have you seen Ted
I
Lasso?
have not yet. Actually, I've been very bad at watching TV shows lately. I'm trying to work through a few more HBO things before I move on to Apple TV because I've heard Ted Lasso is great, and I've also heard Severance is very good over there.
Okay. I've seen a little bit of Ted Lasso.
Did you find it entertaining?
I did find it entertaining. I almost feel bad if I say anything negative about it because people seem to love it so much.
They do. They do seem to be pretty high
It's
on that
funny. It is funny, but for my personal taste, it's almost it's almost slightly too rom-commy to me. Where I'm
almost
like
too wholesome, kind of, and
slightly.
yeah.
It is a little bit, and I know that's what the show is, and then just for my personal taste, it's too far that way. Where I just need a little bit more.
Just kicking the balls once in a
Yeah,
while.
I need a little bit more Anchorman, Austin Powers.
Just surprise me with something.
But it's good. It's just not. It's not like top 5 all time sort of thing for me.
Yeah.
But it's a good show. It's worth watching for sure. It's just I guess don't like it quite as well as some other people do. But I still like it. It's still worth watching.
Well, and I mean, it paid off when you went to the
I got
Minneapolis United Football Club and got to put all your soccer skills to the test.
That's true. I told you that I referenced Ted Lasso at that point in time, right? That I said, the most I know about soccer is from Ted Lasso.
You did.
And it is. It would be on my recommended watch list, but not as high as this other show that I've been watching. I think we maybe mentioned the show briefly in passing, or some other people in the Discord and stuff has. Winning Time. It's on HBO. It's the Magic Johnson.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's called Winning Time.
Yeah, that's about done now.
It's
All
done.
the episodes are out? Okay.
It's done, and I have seen all of those, and I love that.
It was good?
Oh, I think it's so good. Who's the lead actor? From Step Brothers?
Is John C. Riley? Is it John C. Riley? Okay.
John C. Riley.
Will Ferrell.
True. No, not Will Ferrell. Winning time, I really liked it. But I also am I've always been a big basketball fan.
But
and,
you did okay. And I was curious. I hadn't looked up a thing on the show yet. I didn't know if it was good or not. So the fact that you like basketball and you enjoyed it makes me think that it is worth my time to watch it.
Yeah, and I like just I say I like basketball. I actually like historic basketball much more than I like current basketball.
Mm-hmm.
This is pre my time, of course, but still very aware of the Showtime Lakers and Kareem and Magic, all that stuff, and it's that takes probably tons of liberties, but it's just entertaining, and like I like the feeling that I watch it long enough and I start to think, is that Magic Johnson? And I'm like, no, that's not Magic Johnson. That's just the actor that looks a lot like him. And I'd be like, so is that Kareem?
Yeah,
that's Kareem, right? And I'm like, oh no, that's not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
The lines between reality and HBO are blurring.
Right. So I did like that show. I'm a fan.
All right.
I don't know. It's this type of thing I could see every subsequent season being worse because you like.
Oh, is there going to be more than one season?
I would have guessed so.
Okay.
I'm sure. If it's gone over well, I'm quite positive there will be. But the first season was good.
Okay. Should we snap into a cold one here?
Need a little excitement. Snap into a cold one. Is this an official can?
It's not.
No, okay.
We're just going to go for a little refreshment break. I'm going to give you a special koozie there.
It looks, cock sauce. Relevant this week.
Very.
Is this a bubbly lime?
Bubbly lime. Hard to beat. Not too bad, huh?
Not too bad at all. Real tasty.
Did you see? I was not aware of this until I saw it in Brandon Campbell's story.
Friend of the podcast.
And that was a little something called strengthcheck.me. And basically what it is I think it's pulling from open powerlifting. So it should be giving you the most accurate data possible if that's what it's actually doing. So basically asks you to enter your numbers and powerlifting numbers, squat, bench, deadlift.
Is this an open powerlifting stat of the week?
Almost. That's kind of a throwback, isn't it? This is almost, we're basically making our own.
Can we say this is open
We'll
powerlifting
say this is
stat?
our own open powerlifting stat of the week. So strengthcheck.me, pulling information from open powerlifting, as far as I know. You enter in some parameters about who you are, gender, age, division, being drug tested, credit card number, all that, weight class. Then you enter in your 1 rep max in squat, bench, deadlift, and your total. And then it gives you where you rank based off of that data. And so for me, I put in my best meet performance ever.
Yep.
And that was at the 105 kilo weight class. And at that, it had me, 105? That's what I'd be at, right? I don't even remember.
Can you switch it to pounds too?
It doesn't let me switch that to pounds. Let me switch everything else to pounds besides that. But it said at that time, I had a 540-pound squat. So that would be squat is better or equal than 85% of the population. I'm like, that's my best lift.
Yep.
Okay, 85, top 8. What did you say? 85 percentile? Is that how you would say that?
Yeah, I guess so.
So I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good about that.
You're better than 85% of the other people in your weight class.
100 guys in the room. I'm better than 85 of them.
And not just any guys, better than 85 of them that have competed in powerlifting as recorded in that division.
And so this is saying this is out of approximately, in my case, it says approximately 18,000 lifters is what that breaks it down to.
But I'm saying those are all lifters. These aren't just average people.
Right, true. Yeah. Yeah. You do got a point there. Bench was in the 54 percentile, deadlift 61, and that's
what about total then?
Total was 73%. So I actually, if I had to guess, I would have thought my bench and deadlift would have flip flopped because I think of deadlift as my worst lift, and deadlift I was 61 percentile, bench was 54.
Okay,
but there is also a lot of bench specialists out there, you know.
Right.
So
that's a good point.
So yeah, my best performance ever would be at a 73 percentile.
Okay.
Which I'm like, hey, that's not bad. And then probably the more interesting thing is it does give you percentiles on, if you want to be in the top 80 percentile, here's where your numbers need to be. And you start to see how those numbers really take off between 80 and 90%. Like it's like a whole another ball game. And then 90 to 95 is an even bigger jump.
Right.
Did you get your numbers in there?
Yeah, I was just trying to right now. Let's Let's see. Maybe. What I would say, what I noticed on Brandon's though, because is that what you're getting at? Like those very top.
Oh yeah, and you can see it here.
Yeah.
Like when you look at, what 80% is, and then jumping to like
Right.
90% and then 95.
The 95. How high Brandon had a good point on that too. Like almost, it's like kind of encouraging to look at that, where it's like, yeah, that's I'm actually all right, right? Like I don't need to feel too bad about where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Because the jump from 85 to 90% in total is like 50 pounds, but then the jump it up 5 more percent, it's now all of a sudden like an 80-pound increase in total.
Right.
So you start to see how it really is that diminishing return where, all right, you go up another 40 pounds. Well, in this case, instead of going up 5%, you actually went up about 2% if you're lucky. Are you getting anything?
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I've got. I'm in the squat so I just did my last meet, which is also my best meet. The squat, I'm in the 77%. Your squat is equal or is better or equal than 77%.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense to me. It's probably my worst lift, and that's how the numbers shake out.
I would think your bench has to be really high.
Yeah, it says your bench is better or equal, and this is in my weight class, so there's going to be some pretty strong people in the 275 weight class, is 86%.
Yeah.
Where like the 100 percentile is 674.8. That's got to be James Strickland.
It's like the 100
Like I think
percentile
the 100
can only
percentile is
statistically
like
be
James
a couple guys.
Well, I mean,
right?
if it's James, that would be James Strickland's bench, I think. The squat is 903.6. I suppose that's, who is it? I don't know. And the deadlift is 969.8 in the 100 percentile. So a bench was 86%. My deadlift is 91%. So my
Wow.
deadlift's
Okay.
a little
I was
bit,
I was gonna guess your deadlift would be like right around like low to mid 80s.
Yeah,
But
my
90,
deadlift
that's
91.
That's really good.
Because there's a sharp drop off. Like 100 percentile is 969, 95 is 710, and then down to 90 is 677.
Oh, okay.
So it really
It does show how much that changes though. Like
Right.
a couple percent is 50 plus
And
pounds.
my total is 90%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that does actually make you feel better.
It
Like
does.
where it's like, just like like Brandon said, like you start comparing because you compare yourself against the
Just the
top
highlights you see on
3%.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Which gets you, or just whatever big powerlifting meet happened that weekend and see, okay, yeah, I'm hundreds of pounds off of what's going on here. I guess also in our favor, though, we did have it on drug tested.
I think I just did all lifters.
Did you? Okay.
I did. I guess actually, let me tell you what I did.
Mine
I did
goes, I bet
male,
mine drops
all
some weight
ages, all results, and then 275. Because I didn't do ages either. Did you do ages? I didn't know if
No,
that would
I
make me
didn't- I
better
didn't
or
touch that
worse
one.
if I.
Yeah, all ages. I just left it there. I bet mine would shift a lot. Yeah, because then I go to 34,000 lifters. So mine like
Oh, where does it
doubles.
say that? So I'm 14,400 lifters. That should make sense. So there's way less lifters in my
Yeah,
weight class.
so this is 34,700. So then, yeah, what's it do to my numbers?
Maybe it doesn't make them worse though. It just.
Okay, here we go. Oh no, that actually
Yeah, did it make
that
them
made
better?
my squat better. It's so weird.
Yeah.
But I also
It's just a bigger pool. Like
it is
there
a
could
bigger
be a-
pool. Not everyone in doing
Right.
untested things is like juicing
Right,
either.
right.
Okay, so yeah, my squat goes to 89%. My bench stayed almost exactly the same at 54, and I think deadlift. I think I
Did you
said
say
62.
Yeah.
It's 64 now, so that's
Okay.
about the same. Total's at 78. That might have went up like a point or two with
Yep.
my squat. So that is crazy. That actually almost didn't change it.
Right.
Interesting.
So what's that called again?
Strengthcheck.me.
Who's-
That is a fun little.
Yeah, do we know who's behind that? Pillar
no,
4 Media, or is it somebody else?
5. Pillar
Okay.
5. No, I do not know. I just saw Brandon Campbell post something about it. And I thought it sounded kind of fun, so I checked
Yeah.
it out.
We've got speaking of exciting, cool things coming up, we have a drop coming. So today we're recording this on a Wednesday night, our most common recording night, Wednesday night. This episode will come live to everyone in audio on Monday. And then that Thursday, so the Thursday, the week you're listening to this, presumably, we have a new release coming out. And we've got some hot items, don't we?
We do have some hot items. I think people in the Discord have said they're excited for. Have I seen Hot Boy Summer in there? Did I maybe see Chunky Boy Summer? I thought I saw a few things.
Whatever that little saying about summer you want to use is,
this applies.
This drop
to it.
will apply to that. Also, this drop is really going to rock, I would say. Would you say that? Do you think this drop is really going to rock?
This drop
drop
is gonna
rocks.
rock.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
So we'll say that. And then
Like you're gonna say, I want to rock, and you're like, oh, is this a Twisted Sister release? Like,
nope, I'll give you a hint. It's not. Then also there is one little limited item in here that's kind of a little out of the vault. It's not a T-shirt. It's something else. It's something we're just have occasionally brought back out of the vault. We'll sell a few of this particular item and it'll go back in the vault. So are we explaining anything that's in the drop right now?
you're saying these things, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, do I even remember what's in the drop?
Yeah.
I have to go look now.
So are we telling? We're not really telling anyone yet what it is. What any of these items are.
I don't. Well, we got 2 upper body items. No, 3 upper body items.
Because this drop's really gonna rock.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have.
Am I right when I say that?
You are. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I remember what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 upper body items. 2 of them don't have sleeves. Make of that what you will. Did the Western Northeast South Dakota cut finally come to life? Maybe.
Only time will tell.
Maybe it's something else. But there is some fun things in here.
Yeah. So for those of you that are about to rock, we salute you.
And then, yeah, that's I
enough
guess that's
to
probably
say
enough
on
we
the
can
drop?
talk.
Okay.
Yeah, so just go buy the
talk
drop. And also, we just gave full approval. There's going to be another fun surprise. We've hinted at it for a couple weeks now.
When will that?
I'm hoping, actually, maybe even by the time people are hearing this. Well, probably not. Probably shortly after people are hearing this.
It could be
surprise.
time up
Did
fairly
you see,
close to
did you
this
see
drop,
the,
right?
the last minute changes I made today?
I love the last minute changes. This
I'm
is
like,
all really.
I don't
cryptic.
even need to run this by Tanner because I know he'd love this.
So I did love that. I was actually going to even especially mention that how much I liked that. But so what he is referring to ties into our next little segment here, supporting our supporting members. So we have something very special planned for all of the Massenomics podcast supporting members. It's you guys are going to get that very soon, hopefully within like the next week.
I would think, yeah, within about a week.
And
So
we're not going to tell you anything else because it is going to be a surprise. And I'll tell you, all the supporting members out there, you are going to love it.
yeah,
It is going to be so fun. This alone will make your supporting membership worth it up to this point. I think you will say, I am so happy that I have been in on this journey when this particular
and we're
thing
definitely not setting your expectations too high to be let down. Like you're like, oh, am I getting a gold bar? You basically are getting a gold bar. Like, it is that good.
More or less, right? So everyone that's a supporting member gets to take part in that. It'll be very fun, and
just you don't have to do anything just by being a supporting member.
You guys just keep existing. Don't cancel your supporting membership within the next week, and you'll be in business. And speaking of supporting our supporting members, we have this segment. It's a relatively new segment to the podcast where we have all these supporting members that help make this podcast possible. And every week we like to take the opportunity to give back to them a little bit through this segment. And boy, this week was it a doozy. There was, a lot of times the supporting our supporting members segment, we talk about people competing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we talk about some other stuff that they're doing. Yeah. Engagements, baby births. Those are common recurring job promotions have been on here before. Whatever we can find out. This week it is flooded with competition results from supporting our supporting members.
It's apparently that season.
'Tis the season. First one, the Canadian forklift, Jessica Butner at CPU Nats had a 480 squat, 237 bench, 557 deadlift for a 1273 total. I think like PRs across the board, and everything looked easy.
Yeah, that is crazy. She is insanely strong. It actually doesn't make sense how strong she is.
Yes. So congratulations, Big Jessica. Thank you for supporting. Then on to Yeah, I mean, it really is nuts, though. It's like, and those didn't even look hard.
No, and that's even the stupider part is the lifts still don't look hard yet.
Yeah, she's going to total over 1,300.
I don't know how she couldn't.
The next one was Big Keith, No Wine Cellar Keith and Big Matt. I think it's Matt number 3, maybe in the I'm not sure which Matt number it is, but those two competed together actually at a meet. And Big Keith did a 402 squat, a 265 bench, a 452 deadlift. It looked like an 1119 total, and he said a total PR.
Nice.
So a total PR day is never
No, you can't.
the wrong
Can't complain
thing.
about a
No.
total PR day.
And Big Matt, it was his first meet. He squatted 479, benched 287, and deadlifted 501
Nice.
for a 1266.5 total.
Good stuff.
Next is Big Andrew Montoya, a South Dakota, albeit West River native. Finished first place in his super heavyweight Beast of the Bluegrass show. He got an Arnold amateur invite, and this week he also just posted
The
he
Shaw
qualified
Classic?
for the Shaw
Yeah.
Classic amateur event.
With-
So Big Andrew's kind of killing it in the
He
strongman
is.
game right now. Also, Trevor Simmons,
I was going to say,
another
with another South Dakota,
South
in there
Dakota
too.
making that Arnold, or not the Arnold, the
Shaw.
which that'll be awesome. I'd be stoked to watch those guys. He said maybe it was Matt 5. I said Matt 3. It was actually Matt 5. And then Big Eddie, not the mole, Big Eddie, competed in the garage gym competition. He submitted that. He did a 405 squat, 315 bench, 425 deadlift for an 1145 total. Congratulations, Eddie.
Oh, yeah.
Big John Brandmeier, competed in a meet. He did a 529 squat, 391 bench, and 683 deadlift for a 1603 total. Pretty big numbers
Yeah,
for
those
Big
are
Brand.
those are big numbers.
Yes. Big Eric Carpenter competed, relatively newer supporting member. So congrats on supporting us also. Competed in the garage gym competition, did a 450 squat, 335 bench, and a 405 deadlift for an 1190 total. Big Rich Spoon, garage gym
You were
competition.
not lying when you said you had a lot on your list.
430 squat he submitted, 252.5 bench, 450 deadlift.
Very nice.
And this is my last one for this
All
particular
right,
edition. I
okay.
saved a good one, another strong one for last year. Big Frank from Lift Evil.
Oh, yes.
He squatted 722.5, bench 474, and deadlifted the mark of the devil. I wonder if Frank did this intentionally, a 666
I thought
deadlift
the same thing.
for an 1863 total.
Frank, you animal.
Now that's what I call lifting evil.
I want to hit like a button, the CSI, "Ah!" and then you like walk off.
So congrats to everyone.
Yeah, that's some lifting hard.
Yeah, and I hope everyone did a little living easy
I
afterwards.
hope so. It's well deserved after that.
Yes.
Oh, I should probably read an ad and then we'll get our guest on, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
You know, time's just ticking away here.
Yeah, it's that time.
Tanner, I don't know if there was a meme this week. Tommy leaves to go get a can. The can he comes back with. And it's a NATO fuel
Yeah,
can, baby.
I made that one.
Oh, you
so-
did?
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought I saw it in the Discord. I didn't know where it came from.
I put it, and then I posted on Instagram as courtzy of the Massenomics Discord because I put it in the Discord.
You were giving him a
Yeah.
you were giving him a freebie.
Well,
on
it's
that.
really all of us in the
Yeah.
Discord. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that leads perfectly into this.
The can, I think one of these weeks I am going to bring, I'll have you blindfolded and it'll actually be a NATO fuel can that I give you.
That'd be great. In 1995, Maurice Big Mo Huffman founded SwissLink. He had a partner based in Switzerland, and their mission was to bring authentic Swiss Army goods to the United States and into the hands of those yearning for quality gear at uncompromised prices. Over the years, that mission expanded to nations across Europe and beyond. Now, for nearly 3 decades, Big Mo has been traveling far and wide in search of the best items from military forces around the world. Big Mo doesn't only find authentic military clothing for SwissLink, he brings in everything you can imagine from Czech Army bedpans to Italian champagne glasses. At SwissLink.com, you can find classic military surplus uniforms, a great selection of military-issue backpacks, tools, wool blankets, NATO fuel cans, gas masks, emergency food, first aid kits, survival packs, camping gear, and so much more. SwissLink's unrivaled collection and dedication to quality customer service sets them apart from the rest. Treat yourself to the real thing with authentic military surplus and save 15% off your first order from Swisslink.com with the code MASS at checkout. That's Swiss, SWISSLINK.com. Thank you, Swisslink. Today's show is also brought to you by Texas Power Bars. Buddy Capps first started lifting weights in the late 60s and began powerlifting in the mid-70s. At the time, he was working for Image Barbell building gym equipment. Around 1976, a local machine shop started making Olympic bars for them, calling it the Image Bar. In 1977, Image Barbell became Champion Barbell. It was then that Buddy started looking at the bars with an intent of changing them for the better. In 1979, Buddy bought his first lathe to begin addressing the known issues. In 1980, his passion, drive, and purpose now had a greater mission. Buddy set out on his own to make what he believed was the greatest bar he'd ever seen and trained with, and the Texas Power Bar was born. It was strong as a house with the best knurling and was maintenance-free. Hundreds of state, national, international, world, and Massenomics powerlifting records have been and continue to be set and broken on the Texas Power Bar. To learn more about Texas Power Bars and buy one of their legendary bars, visit texaspowerbars.com.
Good call out from Big Alex in the Discord. Last week we did talk about cutting down trees, and we didn't mention Big Kyle.
Yeah. That was a miss on our side.
Yeah. Nobody can make a charcuterie board quite like him.
Nope. He's on a whole other level.
Yep. Well, should we say goodbye to the Discord?
I suppose. Bye-bye, Discord.
And should we say hello to Big Matt?
Yes. Let us.
Hey, this is Matt.
Big Matt, is that you?
It's
Big Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I qualify. I'm like 275.
Check meets the box. You're live on the
There we go.
Massenomics podcast with Tanner and Tommy.
What's up, Matt?
Hey, man. Thank you guys for having me on the show. I'm excited. This is an hour and 20 minutes past my bedtime, so I'm prepared. I'm a 43-year-old guy who lives the life of an 80-year-old man, so I'm ready. I've got my Earl Grey tea and my bourbon and my 3-inch shorts, and I'm ready to party. Let's do it.
To be fair, this also is by far the latest night of the week that I stay up every podcast recording night. This is way past my normal
It's
bedtime.
like Saturday night over here.
this is my
Right,
party
right,
for
right.
the week. Yeah.
That's right. That's good. I love getting up early and working. So yeah.
You mentioned the 3-inch inseam shorts. So what is the right length of because we're kind of shorts guys over here. We've sold a couple different pairs of shorts in our day, and what is the right inseam length of shorts? Because it's a hot topic.
It is a hot topic. I started like everybody else. I was a child of the 90s, so I wore basketball shorts that were big and baggy and below the knee. And one day I grew up and became a CEO of a company and decided I needed to stop wearing basketball shorts below my knee. And so you're just LP in it, just like you do strength training, right? Like adding 5 pounds to the bar every workout. I went to 9-inch inseam, and I was like, "Whew, this feels really short." And now I would never wear a 9-inch inseam. This was way too long. So then I went to 7s, and now my kind of standard is 5 for professional gigs, right? So if I'm gonna throw on the polo and whatever, if I got to speak in front of somebody, then maybe it's a 5-inch khaki inseam. But the workout shorts have to be 3-inch or below. 3-inch I really like. So 3-inch inseam, big fan for sure. And that's kind of been my walk from beginning novice shorts wearer to basically advanced
Shorts wearer at this point. So
Okay, that's all right. I have a lot of follow-up questions to this now because this. So I am totally on board with the shorts thing. My first question: how tall are you?
6'1".
Okay. So you're not.
We're all in the same ballpark.
Yeah, we're all in the same ballpark
Yep.
here. So because that's
Yeah.
the first
Apples
question
to
I have.
apples, yeah.
Because a lot of times when people are talking 3-inch inseam, they're like, "Well, I'm like 5'6". I'm like, "Well, 3-inch inseam
Yeah.
is kind of different than once you're over 6." So 3-inch inseam. Do those shorts have a built-in liner or are they linerless?
I have both.
What do you
right?
prefer?
So I actually prefer liner. I think I prefer linerless, and then I just wear like a really nice, boxer briefs. there's a brand I use called Sax, which I am not affiliated with at all. SAXX. It's one that's got one of those. I don't know. There's some sort of magic pouch, and so the magic pouch, and so then I throw on those. But yeah, I mean, I've got bird dogs that different types of shorts. Oliver shorts are great shorts. Lulu shorts that typically don't have the liners are fine too. So any of those are fine. Here's the thing I'll say about being tall is I started noticing pictures of myself with baggy shorts on. And again, I'm 275. I competed in both powerlifting and won my pro card in strongman back in the day. And so I'm a big boy. The shorter the shorts, the leaner you look. If your legs are in decent shape, it makes you look long and tall and lean. Whereas if you have big baggy shorts, so typically what I would do even with the shorts that you guys sell, which are great shorts, is I go down a size from what you think you should be. So if you're typically an XL, go for the large. Because then they're a little tighter, a little shorter, and then you look a little leaner.
Yeah. Oh, I would agree with that totally. I always think, here in the cold Arctic North where we're at, people are in the gym training in, baggy sweats all winter. And then there'd always be that time where we'd go compete in the spring and you'd see guys put their singlet on. It's like, wow, you almost look like you have skinny little legs. Like, I know you don't, but it has a very slimming effect.
Yeah.
It does. Which is not great when you weigh 145.
Right.
But great when you weigh 280. So yeah, for sure.
I think I'm just a
big fan.
little farther behind in my progression because I've gotten to a point where I was real comfortable with the 9-inch inseam, or even like a little less than 9, like some 9s that had like a short 9. I would cut, like a short 9, the short 9. Not a golfing reference, but just a shorts reference. And then now I've gotten to where like the 5 or 6, I can get on board with that. Like that's taking me a little bit to warm up to. I still have a place for the 9 in my repertoire, but the 5 or 6 makes sense to me. But I don't think I could be comfortable on anything much less than that yet.
Just like lifting Tanner, it's probably a mental thing right now.
That's true.
That's right.
You're just you're an intermediate.
First time.
So let me tell you the other secret here. So you guys have kids?
Yep.
Yes, we do.
Okay,
So I have two daughters who I love to embarrass. One is 17 and one is 11, but several years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, so they were a little younger than they are now. I think we went to Mexico, like Riviera Maya, south of Cancun, and I was like, I'm just going Speedo. And I didn't tell them I was going Speedo. I went Speedo, and then I put on the normal like board shorts, swimming trunks on over the Speedo. And then at some point, once we all got out there on the beach and we all got set up, I dropped the board shorts, and my daughters were just humiliated, you can imagine. And honestly, if I'm being totally honest, it takes some guts to pull them off. And I'm not. You've had some incredible people on your podcast that I promise you look far better in a Speedo than I do. But once you've done the Speedo, by about the second day, third day, and you have enough margaritas, you're like, 3-inch shorts isn't that big of a deal anymore because you've done the Speedo in front of a bunch of people. But the best way you do it in another country, you don't know it. I'm never going to see these people again. And so, we've got an HOA here in the neighborhood I live in, and we have a pool right across the street. And I don't think that I've pulled off the Speedo in the neighborhood pool yet. So I still go pretty short, but I mean, it's a big jump.
Does the HOA allow it?
That's what I thought you were going to say. The HOA doesn't allow shorts any shorter than
in today's day and age. I can't imagine based on what the ladies wear that they could tell me that I would wear anything different. I can't. It's all the, So yeah, I would assume it'd be fine.
Yeah. Okay. So now that the most important thing we wanted to talk about was the shorts, but for anyone that isn't aware, you also are the owner and CEO of Barbell Logic or Barbell Logic Online Coaching, and
yes, sir.
You've got content that goes. You have a team of coaches. First of all, some that we're more familiar with than others, like Big Cam Cox, supporter of Massenomics, cool dude that we
also a short wearer.
Yep. And then
so goes perfectly with his mustache and an accent.
Yeah. which is all like one of a kind.
Yeah.
You know, or, I mean, maybe not one of a kind, but like for us, like very
unique.
Yeah,
from,
very unique
from our
for us.
perspective.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and authentic for him. I mean, it's really who he is, which is cool.
And you've got a team of other coaches there, and also like all this content around it. And part of that piece of that that's particularly interesting to us is the Barbell Logic podcast that you have that seems to be like awesomely successful.
Well, thank you.
Well, actually, award-winning.
I'm bashful.
Award-winning podcast.
Add that to the resume.
Correct.
I was surprised by the Garage Gym Reviews award that we just won for Best Strength Podcast, and the first thing I thought was like, Massenomics didn't win this? What's going on? So,
well, unfortunately, we don't really talk about anything, much of anything.
That's our first problem. Is we need to talk about strength and conditioning to get on the list.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, you're the Seinfeld. You're the Seinfeld of strength podcast. That's the deal.
Right.
So yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, we started doing. I started doing online coaching. I owned a large gym. Actually, started a gym in 2008 called Strong Gym, and that actually became the largest strength gym in the country. We had tons of strong guys. We had 18 guys that could deadlift over 700 pounds at the time. We won powerlifting or powerlifting gym of the year in back-to-back years, I think in 13 and 14, beating out Super Training Gym and some of those other big ones at the time. Of course, this is early, and so there's lots of gyms that have come out since then, but it was a very nice gym. It was super clean, and we really focused on customer service at the gym. And so what I saw was a lot of these powerlifting type gyms or even CrossFit gyms or strongman gyms that the training style was awesome and the people would get really strong, but the place was just like dirty and disgusting and chalk was everywhere. And there was no customer service and there was no systems for selling memberships or answering a phone or like cleaning the toilets. And so I thought, how hard is this to actually have a really clean gym where we actually train like in a hardcore style and we teach our employees to just have incredible customer service. And so what we found, I know you guys will get the joke. I live in north southwest Missouri. Is where I live. North southwest Missouri. So with the Ozarks, right? So Springfield, Missouri, Branson, think of Northwest Arkansas, Walmart headquarters. That's beautiful down here. The Ozark, the TV show where they kill everybody for drugs. It's not quite like that. So, we're not the city I live in is like 200,000 people, and there certainly weren't going to be enough powerlifters and strongmen to have any sort of successful business. We might be able to pay the bills, but it was not something I was going to be able to leave. I'd got my master's degree to be a high school principal. I'd taught in the public school system for a while and was moving that direction towards being a principal. And this crazy thing happened where when we trained the way powerlifters and strongmen trained and trained our clients that way, but we had an incredibly nice building, super clean inside, smelled good, always was clean, toilets were clean, and the customer service was incredible. We started seeing business professionals and soccer moms and dads, and they started flocking to the gym. And so the gym became very, very successful from about 2012 to 2015. And so at the end of 2015, I sold Strong Gym and started doing online coaching full time and really took a lot of those same principles, a lot of those same core values to the online coaching world. I saw that online coaching had exploded, and that typically meant we're going to sell you a $50 Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheet program/template. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to. And by the way, I'm not like even knocking people that do that. There are people that sell really valuable programs and good templates, and college kids that can't afford anything more than that. But for us, we wanted to provide a premium service where our clients videoed their lifts every single day, uploaded those videos to an app, and then their personal coach would break down those lifts via technique, always within 24 hours. And so, and then we just, we've built a team of incredible professionals. I think the team is we've got about 80, staff of about 80 now. And, 12 or 1,300 clients, somewhere in that ballpark. And, it's like running a spaceship. And so I still coach every single day. I still got about 20 clients of my own because I think it's important that I can sympathize with the coaches and with the software. And if there's bugs in the software, we own our own software and all that stuff now. I want to be able to do that. And all my C-suite, all my executives, my COO and my CXO and my CIO and my CTO and all those people, they all have to coach and their clients, and they use this stuff every single day. And so I think that really that dedication to customer service is the thing that's helped people stay. And so, it's gone really well. Like our churn rate, we lose less than 2% of our clients every month, which is like insanely low. And our in the industry, they call it NPS. The National Promoter Score is like 88, which is insanely high. So it's like your clients are happy and they never leave. And it's still a premium price product. I mean, it's personal training's probably $600, $700 a month for in-person. They can get online coaching with a professional coach for anywhere from $150 to $300, somewhere in there. So you're talking about they're paying a third of the price of what they would for in-person personal training, and it's just worked really, really well. So the podcast and that stuff came along afterwards. Honestly, we did it kind of opposite of what most people do. I think most people sort of develop this influencer strategy where they have a podcast or YouTube channel or whatever, and then they figure out how to monetize that. And we were able to monetize early and do well. And then we launched the Barbell Logic podcast in July of 2017. I didn't think that anyone would listen to it. I just had a bunch of stuff up in my brain and wanted to do really sort of a systematic, logical walk through strength training, starting at the very beginning. Like, why strength? Why does that matter? How do I get strong? What lifts get me strong? Basic linear progression programming. And before we ever even got more complicated than that, and it just sort of exploded. I don't even know. I still to this day don't know why. My original podcast partner, Scott Hambrick, was incredible. He was hilarious. I was like the play-by-play guy, and he was the color man, and he was great at what he did. And over the last couple of years, we've changed co-hosts once or twice. My co-host now is Nikki Sims, and she's my CXO, and she's incredible. And everybody loves her. Guys love her. Ladies love her. She brings a unique outlook to the podcast, and we dive right in. So our topics are very focused, and we dive right into the topics, and then we've got the money to be able to pay for good producers to make the thing sound good, and it sounds nice, and we can edit it if we screw it up, and then we've done the same thing with YouTube. So the YouTube channel is growing really well. So for us, we're not a content company. The content that we put out is always going to be free, and that's really what we're trying to do is build trust, or pre-trust, maybe you would say, with people who might eventually be clients of the online coaching business. But the online coaching business is the thing that brings the revenue, and so that's what we focus on as far as that's how we make money. But boy, we spend a lot of time and effort trying to put together great content out there to either get somebody in the funnel or even to help educate our current clients or current coaches. And that system has just worked wonderfully. I would love to say that was the plan from the very beginning and it all worked out just the way I planned it, but it certainly is not the case. I've been lucky / blessed in many ways over the last several years.
Yeah, our podcast is kind of like that, except it's just two color guys, and it's like if they were both maybe like a little drunk or something like that.
Right. No play-by-play band.
Still looking for that. We have an open position for the
that.
Play-by-play.
Yeah. We'll give it a few hundred more episodes and figure that out.
Really taking our time to find the right person.
Well, and you guys have done this about as long, right? You know, what, 5-6 years as well?
Yeah, we're a little over 6 years. Yeah. Yep.
I was trying to see. We are over 400 official numbered podcasts, but then we also did series. So I think I'm somewhere around 550, over 500 podcasts.
That's a lot.
And dude, here's the thing. We don't interview people on our podcast. I mean, it's really rare. We've done it some, but when you're the subject matter expert at anything and you do 500 podcasts, like you're going, I don't know what else to talk about,
guys.
Well, and so that's what I was going to say is Tanner and I, a lot of us is just talking about things that are happening in the Massenomics world and just kind of
Sure.
what we're observing, things going on in our lives. Nothing too serious. But
What flavor of sparkling water we're drinking?
Yeah. You guys
There you go.
you are very on topic. Like, you can read any episode title and you'll get a good idea of what you're in for.
Sure.
Hopefully maybe there's some surprises as far as what you learned, but you're not going to be like, whoa, I did not see this coming.
Right.
So like, you guys are on task. Like, do you ever feel like, man, are we going to run out of something to say? Like, does that happen a month from now, 6 months from, like, has that been a worry?
2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, guys, what am I going to talk about anymore? So the answer to that is, and again, this is a place where I've just sort of gotten lucky, is that in the beginning, the podcast was that very early information. Again, it's like, why strength? Why does that matter? Like that kind of stuff. And as we got further into the podcast, it became more about how do we do programming? How do we move from novice programming to intermediate programming? And I really worked on and then taught a class that we have a style of programming that we call minimum effective dose. And part of that came from what we saw in the magazines, what we saw growing up, what we saw in practical programming, Ripito, and you've had a bunch of those guys on your background. That's my background's there as well. What we sort of would teach is, okay, you do kind of basic linear progression, or the starting strength basic linear progression, and then when that stops working, you would do Texas method, or Jordan Feigenbaum's favorite 5-3-1 or whatever. And so, but the reality is that we started to see that that's actually not what any of us were doing. What we were doing is we were making one change to one variable. And that's really the scientific method. So instead of going like, okay, this program has stopped working, especially if you go back to what it was like when we were in high school and you're reading Muscle and Fitness or Muscle Media 2000 or whatever, right? And you're like, okay, that program stopped working, so I'm going to go do a new program. Well, like the new program, maybe it works, but if it worked, you didn't know why it worked. And if it didn't work, you didn't know why it didn't work. But with a minimum effective dose theory of programming, we can all start with linear progression. We can add a little bit of weight to the bar every single workout, or a little bit of volume, or a little bit of tonnage, right? These like objective, measurable sort of things. We can do a little bit more every single time. And as long as we can do that, why would we do anything else? And then at some point that stops working. And so then what we do is we start to make little small single variable changes to test it in the laboratory of the gym and see if it works. And typically it will. But if it doesn't, you know right away what variable didn't work. And so we don't typically change 3, 4, or 5 variables at one time. Now, certainly sometimes something like intensity and volume have a direct inverse relationship with each other, right? So as intensity goes up, volume has to go down. You can't do 95% of your 1 rep max for 5 sets of 5. That would kill you. And so, but for the most part, we try to do that. So we got deep into that in the podcast, deep into the programming side. And then what happened, and this is the thing that's been able to, I think, to feed us content over the past year or more, is that really the podcast topics have followed the life of the listener, which started as a novice or a beginner and a novice, and then became an intermediate, and then became advanced. And then we started to see that many of our podcast listeners wanted to start, they became like, they geek out on barbell stuff. So they were barbell enthusiasts. And then they wanted to start coaching their spouses or their parents or their kids or their neighbors or people they went to church with or whatever. And so we started to transition the podcast more and more from a podcast that, again, if it's a systematic, logical walk through strength, we start at the very beginning because it's a very good place to start. But now we're at the point where the podcasts or the topics are much more geared towards the barbell enthusiast, the up and coming coach, the professional coach. And that's the same person that was listening back in 2016, 2017 when we started. They were just a beginner back then. And so I think that's what's continued to allow us to have the opportunity to have topics to talk about. And it's worked really beautifully. And the numbers continue to show. So we're pushing 200,000 downloads a month on Libsyn, just on the audio version. And that's pretty good for a niche-y little barbell-based strength training podcast.
A lot.
Yeah, that is a lot.
So I'm happy with it.
That's cool. Something I'm wondering about. I'm sure you know your statistics on your average client customer really well. You know what that person looks like.
Sure.
If you're like to make a model of that person, you know what they look like. You know how old they are.
Of course.
What they put, how much they earn per year, that sort of thing.
Yep.
We come from a corner of the world where, you've also been in this spot where we think of things in terms a lot of times of like competitive power lifters and strongmen, and not necessarily world record setting people in this, but just people like ourselves where we kind of train and we're by definition competitive. We're out there competing in powerlifting. Is the average, my assumption is you'll know the answer to this. The average client for Barbell Logic, that's not really what they are, right? It's someone that's, and also like the 25-year-old powerlifter doesn't have any money. And I'm not saying your stuff is too expensive, but they just don't have, it's a lot when you have no money.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. The reality is that, who doesn't come out of college? I came out of college reading, and this is, this is like in the late 90s. And so I would go down, and this is in the old days of like Deep Squatter and like Elite FTS first getting on the internet, reading the old Louis Simmons articles, going to Westside and training with those guys. And then I would go down to the catacombs of the library at my at Missouri State University, and I would get these old books, The Science and Practice of Strength Training by Zasiorsky and all of, Tudor Bompa and Brooks and Fahey and all of these books. And I felt like I discovered something that like nobody else knew about. Like I had the Soviet secrets, right? And who better to apply the Soviet secrets to than to young athletes? And I'm not 12-year-olds, like
18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds, right?
I'm like, that would be awesome. And then I realized those people often make terrible clients. Now, they'll make you still look like a great coach, because the reality is freaky athletes you can basically do anything with in the gym, and they get better. But I started to see as I got a little bit older, as I got into my 30s, that there was something about focusing on strength training to improve quality of life that if I say that to an 18-year-old, like they couldn't care less. They just want to get strong and get yoked and get jacked and have abs and do whatever.
My quality of life is having abs and being strong.
Exactly. That's probably true, right? And for us, there was this thing that was just, there was a call to maybe something a little bit deeper where it was about, making sure you could keep up with your kids, or it was health metrics, or it was being able to keep up with your grandkids, or to be able to, like, whatever those things were. And so we really, our focus is to help people experience strength to improve their quality of life, not to set world records. Now, we absolutely, so our average client, to answer that question, is somewhere between a 35 and 60-year-old upper middle class person, right? And in the beginning was mostly male. In the beginning was like 95% male, and now we're about 68% male. So we've continued to improve the number of females that have joined Barbell Logic Online Coaching. And I'm really excited about that, because in the barbell world, that is not something that is traditionally something that, business females, soccer moms, like that sort of demographic tends to do. And so we have reached that. And I think that's because of our people like Nikki Sims, like Nikki Berman, like some of our best coaches. These ladies can look at them as models and be like, man, they're they don't have this unattainable fake look of a Instagram influencer. They're not taking pictures of their butt and their abs and posting it on social media. They're doing this thing, and they're being great moms, and they're being great business ladies, and they're being great wives, and they're interacting in life, and their quality of life is great, and strength is a big piece of that. And so for us, that really became our demographic, and it wasn't on purpose. But then we also realized that when we take that person also seems to respond better to world-class service through professional, personal coaching. They are settled in their life. They've bought a house. They're probably going to stay in the same city. They're not going to get tired of strength training and go do hot yoga or CrossFit in 6 months. They are, all of those things. And so they often listen better. They're more coachable and then I realize that these are obviously, I'm painting with broad brushes here. We have lots of millennials who are very coachable, and we have people who are at Barbell Logic who are super crazy strong. But our standard demographic is just that average. It's that average man or woman who is that business executive, soccer moms and dads are taking their kids to T-ball or soccer on a Saturday. They travel and they need help in how do I train at a hotel gym? How do I find a gym in the city that I'm going in and get, I can't get my 3 workouts in or my 4 workouts in this week. I can only get 2. Can we make some adjustments? And that is the kind of thing that's impossible to do with a template, but that is extremely possible and not just possible, probable and entirely doable when you have a coach that's your coach every single time. And so that when you have a client that says, hey, I'm going to Cancun for 5 days, and they get down there and you say, hey, as soon as you get down there, just do a quick scan on your cell phone of the hotel gym and we'll put some stuff together because we're trying to develop these long-term sustainable habits. That's the stuff that's made the difference. And so I think what it does is rather than being a template-based company and calling that online coaching, we meet our clients exactly where they're at. So regardless of what their age is. And we have clients in their 80s. I think we have one client, she's 92. And she squats and deadlifts and bench presses and presses. This is amazing. Odella, shout out to Odella. And so I got a lady that's 87. I'm going to train her in the morning. And they do all the same stuff. I mean, it's not standing up out of a chair is a squat for an 87-year-old lady, especially if she's holding a 20-pound kettlebell or a medicine ball. Like I might not be able to put 185 pounds on her back, but that's a squat, and it's keeping her out of the nursing home, and it's allowing her to sit down on a toilet and get back up, and it allows her to get in and out of her car and drive. And so for us, that was where I just think we found it was less about fleeting happiness, about hitting PRs. And by the way, we love PRs. PRs matter. We track every PR. But the PRs were really just a metric to show that what we did or what we do improves quality of life. And I think that's really what it's all about. So that's why we're doing this thing, right? And it scares me because I competed. I told elite, I think at 4 weight classes in powerlifting, I won my pro card in strongman in 2006 with Brian Shaw, actually the same show as Brian. And you watch these bodybuilders, and you watch these big powerlifters, and you watch these strongmen, they die early. And I'm not saying that any of those guys will, but like that's, their quality of life is winning the world's strongest man or setting world record PRs. And that's not the same thing for our clients are like, yes, of course we want to set PRs. And of course we love to have our clients compete. I love seeing a 55-year-old guy or lady compete for the first time ever in a powerlifting meet and just going out there and having a blast and setting PRs. It changes their training. It makes their training more serious. They get real serious about it. And, we utilize the USSF, the United States Strength Lifting Federation. They're like an online meet, so they can do it anywhere. And then that's the other big thing about this is that the online coaching that we provide, because we're not just doing programming, but we're actually doing technique breakdown. And it's not just type technique breakdown. It's video recordings. We're talking to our clients every single day. Our clients can do that anywhere they want, anytime they want, with the equipment they have. And so, we've got clients in Singapore and Seoul and Tunisia and South Africa. I mean, they're everywhere. And then the coaches have the same flexibility because it's asynchronous. The coaches then, as long as they break down their clients' videos and respond within 24 hours, they can coach anywhere. So you think about how when I was in Kansas City last weekend. The week before that, I was in Washington, D.C. I was in Seattle 2 weeks before that. I went to Mexico on vacation. I got to coach through all of those things. And if I was still coaching just in person at Strong Gym, I would have not been paid for any of those times because I wouldn't have coached. Or the client goes on vacation and they miss and they lose out on consistency. And so I love it because we can continue to provide and build these wonderful relationships to provide improvement of quality of life, which really comes from consistency of doing the thing. No, maybe not, if they're in a hotel gym, maybe they can't actually load up a barbell and squat and deadlift, but man, they can still get in a good workout. And they can avoid detraining. And we saw this with COVID. We saw it when all the gyms closed down. The clients that decided to do what they could in their own living room with a couple kettlebells and 50-pound dog food bags and whatever they could get their hands on, they continued to train. You know, when COVID first hit, we all thought this was going to be like, it's 2 weeks to slow the spread. And then the next thing you know, it's been a year and all the gyms have been closed. And those clients that trained in their living room and dedicated themselves to getting whatever they could, going to Lowe's, buying 5-gallon buckets and filling them full of concrete so they had something heavy to carry or press or whatever they could get their hands on. They detrained so far less than everybody else. Then when they got back in the gym, it was just a couple weeks and they were right back where they were. And so that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to do is build those sustainable habits long term to improve quality of life.
Absolutely. Something I had written down that I wanted to make sure that we asked you. This is shifting gears just a little bit, but we talked about Big Cam. You know, he had a very particular look when we met him. He had a style to him. I would say also, you know, if you look at your Instagram, you also have a certain style to you.
Yeah.
From what we picked up, do you have what I don't know what term he goes by, but do you guys utilize the services of like an image coach or a
It's funny that you asked us. So here we go. Yeah, sure. I do. I have a friend. His name is Tanner Guzzi, and he runs a company called Masculine Style. And I had been invited out, probably 5 years ago to, I talk at conferences all the time. There was a conference in Atlanta called Menfluential, which is sort of a terrible name.
But anyway, I was one of
the fitness guys that was out talking, and Tanner was a style guy. So it's not fashion. Fashion's not the word we'd use. It's style. And the idea is, wherever we are in life, and there's so many things that come, it's what your job is. Are you married? Do you have kids? Where do you live in the country? You guys are in South Dakota. Is that right? I don't think I've ever been to South Dakota.
Western Northeast South Dakota.
That's right. I've been to Fargo, which is North Dakota, right?
Yep. Not far from us though. We're just a
not
few
far.
hours down the road.
I've been in most of the states at this point. Where you live, like if you live in South Dakota versus if you live in Orange County, even if you have the exact same job, your style would be a little bit different. And so I think we've just tried over the last year, and this is mostly for the guys, and this is mostly probably just sort of flowed down from the culture. It's certainly not part of our core value system or anything that we have at Barbell Logic. I think it's just flowed down really from me and then from Andrew Jackson, who's my COO. It's just we're trying to convey a thing. And one of the things I think that I'm trying to convey, one of the main things I'm trying to convey is that I don't know how many other people are out there doing this sort of hardcore style of barbell training, but in an uber professional manner. Again, so much of this hardcore barbell training is done in these like dank, dirty, chalk-filled, gross gyms with Pantera playing. By the way, let me be clear. I love that. That's exactly where I want to train. But that's not who the CEO of a $100 million company wants to train. But they do want to train that way. Like, one of the things we have to just be honest about is, like, I'm not the biggest CrossFit fan, but guys, CrossFit has exposed millions of people to barbell since 2008. And then some of those people fell in love with strength training and they decided they'd rather do strength training than CrossFit. Thank you. That's wonderful. Now we start to go like, okay, so that's why people like my wife, who is just a very prototypical soccer mom. Like I love her. She's my training partner. We train together. Stay-at-home mom. We homeschool our kids. And yet, she is still attracted to this thing that we do because her body responds the way she always wanted it to respond by all the ridiculous stuff she was doing, all the aerobics and stuff that she did in the past. And she's like, oh, when she started squatting and deadlifting heavy, her body responded that way. And so the reality is that people that listen to your podcast, you don't have to sell them on like hardcore strength training. Like that's who your audience is. They get it. Like, this thing works. We know heavy squats. Like, it's not about arguing over a high bar squat or low bar squat or conventional deadlift or sumo dead. It's none of that stuff, right? But we know that strength training with free weights matters. It works. There's an incredible ROI on this thing. But for some reason, we've mostly only broken into this sort of niche-y powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding crowd. And I think what we've been able to do at Barbell Logic is we've been able to break through into the like cross the chasm into like the everyday person. And so they still train the same way the rest of us do, but they train in a way that is like still attractive. They don't want to go into a gym that's dirty and playing Pantera. That's not what they want. Even though I like that. And so we were able to do that. So I think the style actually comes back to that as well. I'm not going to wear a logo t-shirt. I'm just not. And that's not putting down anybody who wears a logo t-shirt. That might be your like kind of people, your tribe, like who you hang out with. If all your buddies wear logo t-shirts. But like I have t-shirts, but they don't have any logo on them. Or I'm not going to wear basketball shorts. I'm going to wear khaki shorts. I'm going to wear khaki 5-inch shorts or khaki 3-inch shorts. I'm not going to wear New Balance dad shoes that I would mow my lawn in. So style does take part of that. And I think it's just all part of the same thing where you're just trying to convey this idea of like, hey, we're professionals here. We're professional strength coaches. I've done this for 25 years. I've worked my butt off at it. And I don't want to be seen as like the scary Chuck Vogelpohl kind, even though I worship Chuck for years.
So do
That's just
fire beanie hats? Do they fit into?
Yeah, fire beanie hats are out. But listen, I remember the day when I thought that was the coolest shit ever, and I own those. I own that exact beanie, and then I was mad when they wouldn't let me wear it under the monolift. I was like, "You let Chuck wear it. Why won't you let me wear it?" So it's like, well, because you're squatting 450 pounds less than Chuck is. And so, okay, that's fine. So I think that's really part of it. It's not, and then I'll say this, like it's become, and it is very authentically who I am. I don't feel, here's another thing. I wore a hat, like just a baseball cap, every day my whole life from the time I was the youngest I can possibly, 2, 3, 4 years old, until I was about 39. And I'm 43 now. And people, when they first started to see me, as a matter of fact, if you go back and look at the old YouTube videos from Barbell Logic, the first 50 YouTube videos, I'm wearing a baseball cap. And I kind of look like a football coach. I've got that kind of look. And as time's gone on and I've transitioned my life from just a strength coach / football coach to the CEO of a big company, I try to dress that way. But that doesn't mean I dress in 3-piece suits necessarily. I've got them, but that's not how I dress on a day-to-day basis. It's that look you're talking about that Cam has. It's the short khakis. It's the well-fitted polo. It's the nice shoes. It's the well-combed hair. It's the waxed mustache. You're like, yeah, that guy's a professional. Like Cam couldn't be a better spokesperson for this. So yeah, that's you've picked up well on that, but it hasn't necessarily been intentional. It's just happened.
Okay, and this slightly tying into that. You like some other of the finer things in life, one of those being whiskey from what we've picked up on. And you're obviously a bit of a connoisseur of good whiskeys. But we wanted to ask you about more so the everyman whiskey drink. So I want you to rate these whiskeys in best to worst, worst to best, however you want to do it. I've got a few here. Okay. Maybe Tommy, I don't know if Tommy has any he wants to throw into the mix. But
so, by the way, let me say this. People who are the most snobbish about whiskey are people who have just gotten into whiskey. People who have been into whiskey for a long time, man, there are not a lot of bad bourbons out there. Bourbons, American bourbons especially. Now, Canadian, we can talk about that. But, so yeah, I'll rate these. But I'll tell you this, like it's the same thing with beer for me. When I first got into beer, I was just into like crafty beer. And now I'm like, man, you know what's good? The High Life is good. Like
PBR is good. Right.
Yeah. For a lawn mowing beer or a shower beer, like I don't want a hazy IPA. That's ridiculous. So yeah. All right. So fire away. I'd be happy to tell you what are good deals for the everyman bourbon.
Okay. Well, we'll throw these out. You can kind of rank these, and then you can maybe probably
provide some context.
Yeah, and maybe the ones we're missing here of why we should.
Sure.
And I don't even know if every one of these is a bourbon whiskey or not. So you'll tell us. So we've got Jim Beam and Jack Daniels. I think those are okay. Those are always in the discussion. Then I said Jameson.
Do you want me to go ahead and rank them now, or do you want me to? Okay,
I'll give you I just have 4 here. Jim Beam,
okay.
Jack Daniels, Jameson, and then Crown Royal is like kind of the
that I would say that, and then we'll throw in Maker's Mark as well.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So here's the deal. I'm gonna piss off people. Okay. So let's start with Crown. Let's start with Crown. Canadian whiskey's crap. And here's why Canadian whiskey's crap. It's actually Canada's. It's the law. In Canada, 49% of their whiskey can be vodka, and they can still call it whiskey. And most of the time, a bunch of it is. So the real word for vodka, the real term for vodka is neutral grain spirits. It just literally means it's like alcohol that doesn't have any flavor or taste, or right. That's what vodka is made to do, is to make mixers. You put juices in it and stuff, right? So if I'm going to drink a whiskey, I want it to be 100% whiskey. Bourbon is made from corn. Rye is made from rye. Irish and Scotch are made from barley. And those are basically the grains, okay? So that's number one. So does Crown make some very high-end whiskey that's good? Yes. But your typical Crown is crap, right? And so, yeah, I would rate that low. Jack Daniels is crap. So Jack Daniels is a Tennessee whiskey. And Tennessee whiskey is very similar to bourbon, but what they do is they pump it through like this long tube of hard rock maple charcoal to sort of pre-age it. So they kind of fake age it before it goes into the barrel. And it gives it this kind of this weird industrial flavor. I still drink it every once in a while on an airplane if they run out of everything else. I'm like, all right, give me some Jack, I guess. But Jack's pretty bad. And especially for the money, there are things that are so much better for the exact same money. Now, Jim Beam, especially if you get Jim Beam bottled in bond, so if you don't get the cheapest Jim Beam, but you go up like $3, that's a pretty good whiskey. Jim Beam and Knob Creek are the exact same whiskey, exactly the same. Knob Creek is just 9 years old, whereas basic Jim Beam is going to be 4 years old, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's got an extra 5 years of age on it. So, and Knob is really good. Like, that's a really good whiskey. Jameson is an Irish whiskey. There's some good Irish whiskey out there. Irish whiskey for most whiskey drinkers are kind of boring because they're just so smooth and easy. There's nothing interesting about them. And so they're not real peaty and smoky and like a punch in the face of testosterone like Scotch is. It's just basic barley. It's like if you just distilled beer. That's what you get. And so Jameson is fine. The best Irish whiskey is probably Redbreast. Redbreast 12 is an excellent bottle. Middleton makes really good Irish whiskey, so those are pretty good Irish. Now, here's the thing. Maker's Mark, there's your go-to at a sports bar. That's a really good whiskey for cheap. Maker's Mark is a wheated bourbon, so it's mostly corn. It's got some wheat in it. It's cheap. Maker's Mark 46 has got some extra age on it and for not much more expensive. And now Maker's Mark is starting to come out with their cask strength. So it's hot. It's like 60%, 61, 62%. And what I always tell people is if they're trying to buy a nice bottle of whiskey for a gift, go to the biggest liquor store that you can find. And that liquor store will have a barrel pick where they literally buy a barrel of something. They bought a barrel of Maker's Mark or Knob Creek or 1792 or Woodford Double Oaked or something like that. And because it's that barrel pick, like because they literally bought the whole barrel, you'll never be able to get that whiskey anywhere else. So it's not like when somebody comes in, they're like, hey, where do I find the Pappy Van Winkle? And I'm like, you got to sell a child to get Pappy Van Winkle. It's impossible to find. You can get your hands on some pretty good stuff. The other one that you didn't mention that's cheap, that I actually think is the best of the cheaps, is probably Evan Williams. Evan Williams, bottled in bond, is excellent. It's the same thing as Elijah Craig. Elijah Craig being 12 years old, and so it's really good. Buffalo Trace, if you can get your hands on it, and it's cheap. It's $17 to $21, somewhere in that bark. It's really good as well. So those are all pretty good starter whiskeys, and there is nothing wrong with any of those whatsoever. I would drink every one of those any day of the week. Those are all excellent bourbons. And yeah, I've got maybe, 350 bottles of whiskey here at home at the, and they're all open. I mean, I don't want to die and leave it to my grandkids. That's for sure. I want to try it. So, yeah, I love good bourbon for sure. Yeah, probably makes it a little harder for me to get back under 275, but yeah, it's a fun hobby.
Is marketing a huge part? Like, I'm just thinking about like something like Crown Royal. You know, you said like, it's kind of crap, but like am I wrong? It's a little more expensive than some of those other ones we're talking about. Is that just all marketing then?
For sure. So let me give you a better example. All vodka's crap. And all vodka is the same. So like you're like, oh, and you're gonna have people listen like, no, bro, my kettle is so much better than anything. No, Grey Goose is better. Like, no, it's not. Vodka is distilled over and over and over and over again till all that's left is alcohol. Till all that's left basically is Everclear. And then they add water to it and cut it down to 40%, and they put it in bottles. And so you can buy Aristocrat vodka, which is however much Aristocrat costs, $5 or something for a, half gallon or whatever that stuff is that the homeless guys drink.
Yeah.
Or you can spend, that's right, for a handle, or you can spend, $50 on a bottle of Kettle or something. And there's really no difference. I mean, it's like the high end stuff has maybe been distilled one or two more times to clean it just a little bit more. But vodka's a complete marketing scheme. And so most people who are into distillates, so being whiskey, tequila, gin, and rum, don't have any place in their hearts for vodka. So there you go.
So do you dabble into other liquors then, like you were just mentioning, like
Yeah.
gin or tequila, things like that?
Yeah, I've got a pretty good collection of all of them, just nothing compared to the bourbon. I mean, I've probably got, 20 or 30 bottles of each of that type. So 20 or 30 bottles of tequila, mezcal, and raicilla, which are all kind of the same thing, similar. And same for good rum, aged rum. My wife loves gin, and so we always have fun gin around the house as well. So yeah, we got all that at the house. So, and I think you can see that on my Instagram, on the Reynolds Strong Instagram. Not too long ago, I took an updated picture of the library that I call it, which is 1/3 books
Yeah, there's a lot there.
and 2/3 whiskeys for the most part. So yeah. So there you go. So now, yeah, and again, whiskey, by the way, everything in life is like this. Whiskey's just like training too, right? Like you just start LP in the thing. Like I remember the first time I ever really had a good bottle of scotch. Like, again, I was getting into business and I considered myself a businessman. And, somebody told me like, oh, like businessmen drink Lafroig, and Lafroig is this like really peaty, smoky, tasted like somebody lit a crab on fire, like burnt moss, or smelled like Band-Aids. I'm serious. It was terrible. And I can remember, running a bath, putting some rose petals in it, lighting some candles, making a glass of scotch for myself. And I smelled it and was like, oh no, this is awful. I'll never be able to drink this. And I love it today. I actually went to Scotland in September and I got to go to all those places and I love it now, but it's just, you got to start easy. And there's no reason to spend money on expensive anything, on expensive bourbon or expensive whiskey or expensive any of that stuff, if your palate doesn't know the difference. And so, yeah, you just start with that. Start with Jim Beam. Start with Jim Beam and Evan Williams and Maker's Mark, and those are great places to start. And you'll start to figure out like, oh, I kind of like the taste of this one better. And that doesn't mean that like everybody's tastes are different, right? Like we could all go through our favorite steak cut, and it doesn't like one isn't necessarily better than the other. Yeah, or the ribeye is probably better than everything else, but you know what I mean. So it's everybody's got a different flavor palette, and there's nothing wrong with it. Have fun. And when I tried to get off of, I would just say the other thing is like if you want to mix it with something, mix it with something. Most people. I
was just going to ask. You probably don't have a lot of Jack and Cokes, I suppose.
I don't.
Although that's how everybody starts, right? And so what I did is I would drink Scotch and Sprite together at first, and then I was like, you know what? I need to learn how to do this like a grown up. And so what I would do is I would pour a glass of Sprite and then a glass of Scotch, and I would just sip the Scotch, and then as I go as long as I could before I'd have to kind of take a chaser of the Sprite. Like I wouldn't chase it literally while the Scotch was still in my mouth. I'd swallow it and then I'd be like, okay. And so I would separate them. And that's a great way to start too. If you're a Jack and Coke drinker, make a step up on the bourbon, drink the bourbon, and then have a Coke separate, but don't mix them because like the bourbon's good. You don't have to mix it with Coke. The reason people mix Jack with Coke is because Jack tastes terrible.
And the Coke tastes delicious.
so get a good bourbon, you'll be fine.
So yeah,
that's good. That's good.
Got the crash course.
Okay, good. We've got this little game. We that was also a little game, but we got this other little game that we like to play every week with every guest called Overrated, Underrated, sure. And we've got a special hand-picked set of Matt Reynolds topics. Topics just
wonderful,
selected solely for you. And it's just your job to decide if each one is overrated or underrated. You've got your druthers to elaborate as much or as little as you'd like on that. You just have to remember, number one thing is you cannot ride the line. You have to ultimately land on either over or under for each one.
There's no gray in Matt Reynolds, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, perfect. Overrated or underrated, an axle bar, if you will.
I think it's underrated. I love an axle. I like an axle because it distributes the weight of the bar across the hand. So if somebody is having hand pain, nerve pain in their hand, tendonitis in their forearm, I think it works great. They're dirt cheap. Hell, you can make them out of Schedule 80 pipe, but at this point, almost every equipment manufacturer has them for nothing because they're just an empty pipe, basically. So yeah, I love them. Underrated.
I agree. I've always, or not always, but for the last several years, I don't know why on the bench press I don't really utilize it, but on overhead press I much prefer the axle over the diameter of a barbell for the press.
Yeah, and it's a great grip exercise too if you want to deadlift with it. I like curls with it, work well as well. So yeah, I think it's a great piece.
Okay, overrated or underrated? Cock sauce.
Oh, it's definitely underrated. So Cameron's going to get mad. I'm just going to say, first off, it's excellent. It is. I think cock sauce is the best barbecue sauce that is like right down the middle on exactly the way barbecue sauce should taste. But I still like to augment it with stuff. So what I do is I take cock sauce, and I like a little mustard in my barbecue sauce. So what I do is I take some brown mustard and some balsamic vinegar and put it with my cock sauce, and I put that on my pork shoulder, my pork butt, or whatever you guys want to call it when you do a big smoked pork shoulder. Now, I don't do that if I'm going to do like chicken wings or something. With, again, chicken wings, I just use the cock sauce. That works great. Maybe a little bit of honey at the end or something to get a good caramelization. But man, cock sauce is I've got a case of it in my pantry because I love it so much. No, it's great.
Did Cameron give you his blessing to be mixing other things into his sauce?
I told him, I was like, I don't know if you want to. Well, he's got recipes on the website. I was like, you should have some recipes so you could add a little bit of this or a little bit of that if you want to change. Because, there's certain types of meat I want. So if I'm going to make brisket, for example, in Missouri, we make burn ends, right? So we actually take the point instead of the flat. So throw the flat in the trash. I don't care. That's what Texans eat. It's way too lean. The point of a brisket is all fatty and they make burn ends. On that one, I would take cock sauce and I would put like brown sugar in it. I would make it more sugary at the end. Now I'd use normal cock sauce to base the brisket for the course for the 10 hours or 11 hours it's going to smoke. And then that last hour, once I turn it into burn ends, I'm going to put a little sugar in with it and it's delicious. Whereas if I'm going to do pork, I want it a little more vinegary and a little more mustardy, so I can add that as well. Again, I hope this is more of an ad or a commercial for cock sauce because it's so versatile. That's what I like about it. There are sauces that you eat.
Swiss Army.
Yeah, you get like Casey Masterpiece. It's so sweet, and if you don't want super sweet, it doesn't matter because there's already too much sugar.
There's no coming back.
So,
Yeah.
That's right. So what I love about cock sauce is it is so great as a base sauce all by itself, but then you can add a few things to it based on the type of meat that you're making, and it works great. So yeah, love it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay. Overrated or underrated? Tommy, pronunciation, cognac.
Cognac.
Yeah, cognac. And we had what specifically?
I think we specifically called out, is it King Louis the 13th?
Oh, like Remy Martin, like the high end stuff. It's overrated. Any expensive liquor is overrated.
When you say expensive, because this is all
Yeah,
relative, like
right.
what would you say
I'm
is
sorry.
expensive
Yeah, so-
here?
Well, one of the problems with like the bourbon industry is that so much of that stuff is secondary market. I mean, it's literally people are buying it on the black market. And so like a Pappy Van Winkle, which almost everybody's heard of, is the most famous whiskey. That's going to go somewhere between $100 to maybe $400 retail, and then turn right around and sell on a private Facebook market group for like $4,000.
Oh, really?
Now, like, I can't. If I'm a billionaire, I'm not paying $4,000 that's crazy, right? And so that's the thing with cognac, Armagnac, that stuff is really, that's just really distilled wine is really what it is. It's really good, but there's also really good deals. So like finding good cognac or Armagnac for something in the $40 range or something, like that's awesome. Get it for sure. Don't buy the one that's $12. It sucks, but that wheelhouse in the liquor world of like $30 to $50, it's all like 90-95% pretty good stuff. So it's hard to beat. $30 to $50. It's like wine. It's a bottle of wine, right? So you bottle of wine. If you buy an $8 bottle of wine, it's probably not very good. You get up to the $20 to $40 bottles of wine, they're pretty damn good, especially for the money. And then at the point where you're like, I just spent $250 for a bottle of wine, it's like, can you really taste the difference between a $250 bottle of wine and a $25 bottle of wine? Probably not. So, yeah. So in general, I would say overrated for cognac.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Did you have any follow-up?
No,
on the,
no follow-up here.
Okay, last one then. And we always kind of save the most important for last. This one is worth all the marbles that we would say. The whole performance kind of comes down to this one. So overrated or underrated cake a day diet or sheet cake a day diet?
You guys
did your research.
Jesus. Oh, Lord.
So I wrote an article years ago called "Eating Through the Sticking Points," and I did actually have a workout partner that ate a 9x13 sheet cake or brownies every single day from about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving until the first of the year, and he put on like 35 pounds in that time period. He was potentially taking other supplements. I don't know. I'm not. It ain't me. But anyway, so, man, I graduated high school at 155 pounds, and I got married at 175. I competed in powerlifting at 220, 242, 275, and 308, and then dropped down on one of my pro card and strongman in the 105 kilos, so 231. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would not do it the same way. I mean, I did a lot of McDonald's, a lot of pouring oil in my protein shakes just to get extra calories, and then next thing you know, you're 43 years old and you got high blood pressure and you're like, this probably not the best way to do it. So that's a great story,
But I would probably say overrated. Cake a day. Cake a day diet.
So you're saying we should expect a Barbell Logic Cake a Day ebook coming out anytime?
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, that whole improving quality of life, death by 40 is probably not one of the
things that we want to.
Albeit probably extremely unhealthy. Pretty impressive to be able to even do that. I would be so sick from that.
Oh, the guy was
I
amazing.
couldn't mentally, I mentally would not be able to.
If I eat like 2 brownies, I kind of like, I did probably need to eat the second brownie,
There's stories with this guy and then his brother. I trained with both of them. They were the best athletes I've ever trained with in my life. These guys were like, so this kid that did this, and he was probably at this point, he was maybe 21. He deadlifted 800 pounds raw conventional as a senior in high school, and for sure drug-free as a senior in high school, for sure. He was just a freak. And then he got real serious about it and did the things you do when you get serious about the things. And so that was one of the things he did was the cake a day diet. I can remember we were doing this workout, and this is back in the old days of geared lifting, bench shirts and squat suits and stuff. And he had taken like a 650 or 675 bench press in a shirt, which again is ridiculous now looking back. I'm sort of embarrassed about those days. But I can remember he missed it, and he was so pissed. And he took like a 2-board press or 3-board press, the old where you'd actually take like
the 2x6s.
And
he just waylaid on on a lat pull down machine with the 2-board press, and he was like, fuck it, that's it. I'm going to fix this problem. And so he lived up in Kansas City. I lived down in Springfield, Missouri at the time. And so our next training session together was like 6 weeks later. And for that entire 6 weeks, that guy ate a 9x13 cake or pan of brownies literally every single day. And at the end of the day, he only had one. So he only had one pan. So what he would do is at the end of the night, he would finish whatever was left. Like, it's 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. He finished what was left wash the pan and go ahead and bake the
Yeah.
cake.
or bake the
You have to
brownies
bake
for
every
the
day,
next
right?
day.
Yeah.
For the
just
next day.
appear.
That's exactly right. This poor college kid, he just had so. But those boxes of Duncan Hines brownies are awfully cheap, so for the calories, and so yeah. So we did all kinds of stupid stuff back in those days.
That's
sure.
particularly funny though too, because something much more common and popularized is a gallon of milk a day. But a milk has a decent macro breakdown depending on your goals, I suppose.
Right. You have protein, carbs, and fat.
Whereas the
No
brownies,
protein in the cake.
yeah, right.
It's just carbs and fat.
Yeah,
Just carbs and fat.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it was crazy, man. It's wild to think through what we've come through from getting into this world. I got really lucky in the early days, in the late '90s when the internet first started, of discovering these guys, like Louis Simmons and Dave Tate and Ripito and Glenn Penley was a mentor of mine for sure. All those guys, I just got lucky. I was never the guy that was reading like Muscle and Fitness. And so that led me down this path. And I think back often, like as crazy of a story as that is, I don't think like without those stories, I don't think that we ever get to Barbell Logic. I don't think we ever get to the point that I figure this out and like how to do this in a more professional manner while still maintaining all the effectiveness that we can have for our clients. And so, I'm thankful. Like they're fun stories to tell around the campfire when you drink a few too many bourbons. But the reality is like, I don't know that I would change anything really, because it all builds part of the story of kind of who you are and what we've been through. And so we've been through some tough stuff over the years, and but that's okay. We've learned from those things, and man, I wish everybody the best in that stuff. I mean, I think again, we're all trying to get people strong. That's really what it comes down to. And gosh, there are like 8 billion people on the planet, and we need to reach more of them. And so for us, trying to build as many relationships as we can, not burn bridges, and try to build that, I think that's key. So whether that is, if the market is the competitive powerlifter and strongman, like go make competitive powerlifters and strongmen. And if the market is 70-year-old people, like make 70-year-old people stronger and improve their quality of life. And if it's like us, it's kind of middle-aged, normal Gen Pop people. That's what we're going to do as well. And so it's really key for us. And and then I think the other thing for us that I hadn't mentioned is that, man, we started an academy a couple years ago. The academy has been incredible. And so for people who have walked through that path, like we talked about in the podcast, that went from beginners to now they're more intermediate or advanced, we've got something for them where they can go in and they can learn. Just not even people who necessarily want to become professional coaches, like career coaches, but even for barbell enthusiasts, we have a barbell academy that's just outstanding. And so if you want to learn more about like anatomy and biomechanics, the physics, programming, advanced programming, stuff like that, we've got that stuff for you at Barbell Logic. And that's not to, I don't want to sell your listeners on anything. What I love about what we do is that the content's free. So for people who are listening to this, if they don't know who we are, like just go check out the content, check out the YouTube channel, check out the podcast, because that costs nothing. And one of these days, like, some people will become clients of ours. And then what we've tried to do is we've tried to get rid of all the friction for signing up. So like for our online coaching clients, their first month is 100% free every single time, no matter what, no contracts, no questions asked. So people are like, wait, what's the catch? Like there's no catch. You just like, this stuff works. It's our job to keep you. So try it for 30 days. There's nothing to miss out on. So that's really, really key to us. I don't know, man. Obviously, I'm really passionate about our business and what we've been able to do. I think we've been able to create a system of online coaching where our coaches, our coaches get paid at least $100 an hour, and most of them at this point are making $150 an hour. And we figured out a system of online coaching that just works and people stay. And so kind of the next thing, the teaser maybe in the pipeline is that what we're working on is we want to be able to help others be able to run their own online coaching business through our software and our support system, but under their own brand, somebody that wouldn't want to work under necessarily Barbell Logic. They do something a little bit different than what we do. And so we've got a new company coming out called Turnkey Coach, which is exactly like it sounds. It's like a turnkey online coaching system that helps teach you our system of how we've online coached so that you can help your clients pay way less and you can make way more as a coach. Man, I think that's going to be important with the coming recession. I'm worried for personal trainers out there with what's going on with the economy that's going to be one of the first things to go. And so we've tried to we're constantly thinking about the life cycle of the client, right? From the absolute beginner to the intermediate, to the advanced, to the barbell enthusiast, to the I want to learn how to coach but don't know where to start, to now I know how to coach but I don't know how to do my own business. And we've kind of tried to put stuff out there across the board. And I'm really proud of the stuff that the team has put out. My team is incredible. It's certainly not all my brainchild, and it's not all stuff that I've written, but we've got a pretty incredible group of people that work at Barbell Logic, so I'm very thankful for them.
Awesome. We appreciate it, Matt. We appreciate you coming on. We appreciate you sharing some stuff about Cam Cox so we can use that against him if we ever need to.
Of course.
I was thinking one other. Is there a Wolf that's a Barbell Logic coach?
Yeah. Wolf is one of our coaches too. He's been around for years. Yep.
He's been a Massenomics supporter over the years. I was just thinking of that as I was thinking of any other Barbell Logic coaches that stick out to me. So he's one. So shout out.
Yeah, Wolf is the man. Yep. Dr. Sully, who wrote the Barbell Prescription for people over 50 years old. He's one of our coaches as well. And actually, I'll get in trouble if I don't say this. I think we made a landing page just for your listeners. So if you go to barbelllogic.com or barbell-logic.com/Massenomics, you can actually see stuff just for your listeners. So stuff like we've got a coaching Kickstarter ebook coming out. It's 100% free. It's not going to try to sell anybody on anything. So our most recent content that's geared towards Massenomics listeners, and we've tried to do that. So barbelllogic.com/Massenomics, you can find that stuff as well.
Well, that's pretty.
Guys, thanks for having me on the show. I've been a fan for a long time. I'm a little almost embarrassed. I'm a little bashful about the Garage Gym reviews. You guys have an incredible podcast, and I love listening to it. I listen to your podcast all the time. I've got rural land when I'm out I'm out mowing, working on my rural land. I always listen to you guys banter back and forth, and
that's what we do.
And
It's very polite.
that's a good. That's a nice way of saying it. Yeah,
I love that South Dakota accent, and no, it's a lot of fun. So thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thanks a lot for being on, Matt.
Good stuff. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Cool beans,
Give him
baby.
the double cool beans, huh?
Well, hot damn, we covered a lot of ground there.
Yeah, we did. We got through a lot of cool beans stuff, didn't we?
We did.
You gave him the double Missouri cool
We
beans.
gave him the double Missouri cool beans.
with a little shot of cock sauce on top.
Just a little dashing of cock sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, man. God, we got educated on our whiskeys and our scotches.
I
and
know
our
more.
bourbons.
I'll tell you what. I'm sure I've told this story before on here. I really was into Mad Men. This was like, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Oh, I don't know if I've heard
This might have
story
been
then.
pre-podcast even.
Yeah.
That I was watching Mad Men. I mean, if you've listened to the old episodes, you know recently, because I probably brought it up at some point in time if I was, but I think it might have even been pre-podcast. Have you ever watched Mad Men?
I've seen like the first 4 episodes, and that was before I would watch TV shows.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, there's like 100. In my mind, there's 100 of these. I can't ever do
Yeah.
this, and I bailed
Yeah.
out. But it's funny you say it because it wasn't that long ago. I was thinking I should go back and watch Mad Men.
Yeah, and Don Draper is the guy,
Yep.
John
Yep.
Hamm.
Yep.
John Hamm has a large ham, coincidentally, is kind of the thing, is what people say. There's some pretty revealing pictures out there on the internet if you want to dig into it. But he'd make it look pretty cool drinking old fashions.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, you know what? I think that's like me. That's what I would do. Is I would sit around. I would enjoy going out and
I
drinking
relate
an
to
old
that,
fashioned.
yeah.
I'm like that. Like I think every man, you watch that show enough, you're like, I see a little bit of me and Don Draper.
And maybe I should start smoking cigarettes.
I'm like, wow, I thought that those were bad, and then suddenly it
Just
feels
looks so
really
relaxing.
cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you seem so sophisticated right now.
Uh-huh.
So then I, shortly after there, went out and ordered my first old fashioned and proceeded to take a sip of it. And
You're
I
in
looked
for
to
a challenge there,
looked to
aren't
my wife and I said, "This is a glass of whiskey. This is just
Well, no, it's a glass of whiskey with other liquor in it.
not right." And like a dash of bitters and this other stuff
It's just whiskey with more liquor.
and I'm like, I cannot finish this. I need to get something else. This is I don't know what it is. I guess I apparently did no research on it ahead of time, or maybe I even had, and just in my mind, I'm like,
but also,
oh yeah,
like,
the bitters and probably
before
stuff.
you
It
have
probably
one-
makes it taste
before you have one. You're like,
palatable.
oh, well, I know what a mixed drink is.
Right,
A mixed
right.
drink is usually like liquor, but it even tastes less like liquor, and it just tastes really good.
Right.
Whereas like no, an old fashioned is like liquor, but even more liquor.
And I had it, and I was literally like, no, I never ordered one again. And I said, and that's when I realized, oh, that is not for me. That is not. That's not going to be my thing, is it?
I totally know what you're saying. I can do an old fashioned or like a Manhattan. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like in my first go. It has to be a very special occasion.
Right,
and like,
right.
There has to be a specific reason for it, but I can enjoy one. But yeah, it's not on my high priority list.
Or think back to the Arnold this year. We sat around the one night in the hotel at the hotel, and there was what was it? Do you remember? There was some sort of whiskey.
Yeah,
that everyone was sipping on.
Was it whiskey? I think it was a bottle of whiskey they got.
And everyone was having just a cup of whiskey.
Yeah, at that point for me, that was we had been
for
traveling in
sure.
a car for like that was. Hey, I was grateful for the whiskey, but that was the not ideal situation to have anywhere.
But I sat around, taking a few sips of it, thinking, so everyone thinks this tastes good, or what are we doing here? Are we all pretending?
Well, especially when we had been on our feet for like 19 hours, had hardly ate or drank anything. It's like, all right, you need a pull of whiskey now.
And I know people do actually like it, but I just don't like it that well. So to me, I'm like, what do you guys like? I'm like, are you guys all in on this practical joke with me that this is good right now?
Yeah,
because
we're all just
this is not good.
scheming against
And I think
Tiger.
we're even having it out of like styrofoam cups, or
We were.
like hotel cups. And I'm like, makes it even. If you have
it was
at least,
it was the disposable like paper cups.
at least
which
if you have like a really nice glass.
it adds to the experience in some way.
Well, but and isn't it also? Don't people typically? I guess I could ask them. Like even ice in it is
just some type of water there.
right. Like, but like the ice can be like some people don't want the ice. Like that's diluting it, right?
Some people, yeah. That's
But to me, I'm like, oh, piss warm. Besides,
Yep. Good and warm. And yeah, we used to drink. I had some roommates that would drink a regional whiskey, Black Velvet.
oh yeah, we should ask them. Is Black Velvet regional?
I think it's regional.
Okay.
I think it's like a Phillips thing, which
Yeah.
is more of the area here. But they would drink a lot of Black Velvet. And it would always happen that it'd be like January or February when it's like -30 out. And you'd start drinking just a little bit. And then you realize, oh, we have no mixies. But it's like, it's way too cold to leave the house. And the only alcohol here is Black Velvet. So I guess we're drinking Black Velvet with ice now.
BV diet. would be
BV
the-
diet, or in this case, BV water.
Yeah,
BV water and ice. And, sometimes you just make it work. But yeah, it's not.
I guess to be fair, there was a stretch when I would go out. What I would get is a CC water, and I didn't ask them about Canadian. I would have Canadian Club water, or if it was earlier in the night,
CC7?
no, I would have CC Cloudies.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then as it got to later in the night, because I had at that point in my life become averse to pop. I'm like, didn't want to go out and drink like 6 pops through mixed drinks.
Yeah.
So I'd have CC Cloudies in the early in the night, and by the end of it, I would switch to CC water because I'm like, at least I'm getting like half, a cup of water in with each of these. I'm like,
I'm being healthy.
yeah,
here.
maybe this is gonna make me feel a little less terrible the next day.
Yeah. Never mind the fact that your body has to process like all these whiskeys and
Right.
spices and flavors going on.
With what he said, Canadian Club wouldn't be high on his list, presumably, right?
I
As a Canadian,
wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
Based off of what we learned there.
You know what's high on my list?
What?
Spud Ink straps and the Ballers Bar.
That's so high on my list too.
It's Balla. The Ballers Bar is made only for the pimpest arm and back training. This bar takes the standard curl bar and combines it with 4, not 3, but 4 strategically placed 2 3/4 inch balls. The first set is right at the first bend of the regular curl bar, and the second set is right at the ends. Unlike a regular curl bar, the first bend on the bar is much harder for bigger guys and people with minimal supination in the bicep shoulder mobility to grip and use. What you really need to do is go to Spud Ink's website and just check out the Baller Bar to see what this is. They got it in the cable attachment version. Check it out. It is affordable and a cool piece to add to any gym. And right now they have free shipping on all U.S. orders of $75 or more.
And you know what they say? It's hard out here for a pimp.
That's right. So check out spud-ink-straps.com -- Morse code. They have the Morse code website, spud-ink-straps.com.
This episode is also brought to you by Fusion Sports Performance Supplements. Do you know what's in your supplements? If you use Fusion Sports Performance, you always will. Fusion SP prides itself on being fully transparent, never using proprietary blends, and always providing its customers with top quality products. They offer 2 pre-workout options with Super Soldier pre-workout and Mad Titan High Stim pre-workout. Both have proven ingredients at their full clinical doses to maximize performance, increase muscular endurance, improve focus, and get you that much sought-after pump. Both are favorites among strength sport athletes. Healing Factor post-workout combines BCAAs with a full serving of creatine monohydrate and other great ingredients to help maximize your efforts in the gym, build muscle, and recover fast. Fusion's whey protein isolate not only tastes great, it also has 27 grams of protein per scoop, 0 fat, and low or no carb options depending on the flavor. It doesn't contain any soy or gluten, and it won't cause any stomach discomfort. Available in vanilla ice cream, chocolate fudge, and frosted cinnamon roll flavors. Most orders are shipped within 1 business day, and every Fusion Sports Performance product comes fully backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to fusionsp.net and use code MASS to save a huge 20% on your order.
And once you're doing that, make sure to check out our newest drop coming on Thursday. This drop's really going to rock, and it's going to be perfect for summertime. Grilling out. Y'all like grilling out? Then you're going to like this drop.
That's right.
This is kind of the grilling out collection. It
is.
Grilling out boys summer.
Yep. Those crispy boys.
Yep.
Boys.
Yep. So make sure to check that drop out. Please hit us up with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if you haven't done it before. I know there's a bunch of you listening that listen like all the time and have never given us a 5-star review. So please leave us one. We are on the quest for 500 5-star podcast reviews. We're probably going to do something cool once we get to 500. We haven't talked about it.
Brainstorming over here.
But
only you can let us do it.
Yeah, so you can prevent forest fires and then also get us to 500 podcast reviews. So please leave us one of those reviews. We think it does something maybe.
Makes the number bigger.
Yeah, for sure 500 looks cooler than 400 and whatever we're at now. That way, when someone clicks on it like, what is this Massenomics podcast? And it's like, well, they got over 500 5-star reviews now. Yeah. If it would have been under, I might not have stuck around. But
500 people said it's cool. I guess I better check it out.
Good enough for me. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd love to have you on there. We also know a bunch of you aren't subscribed on YouTube. Make sure to get on there. We pump out every podcast episode on the YouTube channel, but also there's other videos on occasion.
Might be one coming up soon here even.
Is there?
Well, we
speculative. You're right.
We got to get one.
I thought maybe you recorded something this year, related.
No.
Yeah. No, we've got it. Yes, we do have. We have ideas for some things that will pop up in there. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube so you can be the first to know and get in on the race for first comment on every YouTube video. It's a heated race. What else is that most? Oh, just become a supporting member of the podcast if you like what we do here and you want it to continue on for all of time. The way you can help make sure that happens is become a supporting member. You probably wouldn't like it if this show went away. There's some of you that listen to every week and aren't supporting members, so help us make sure it stays around. Until,
do you want to live with that responsibility?
Right. Yeah.
Have that on your conscience?
Yeah. You be the one bearing that for all eternity.
But then there is also a whole slew of benefits that come with it. We have
there is other than the guilt trip.
Relieving yourself of the guilt trip. There is the super exclusive Massenomics Discord that you'll get access to, where you can be part of a thriving strength community.
Right, a very active community at that, and there's a discount code available for people joining that, and a bunch of other cool stuff. Until next week, I suppose. Tommy, where do they find you at?
You can find me at Tomahawk_.
You can follow me at Tanner_Baird. Just make sure to follow Massenomics at Massenomics.
See ya.